Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. The following content may involve explicit language and materials, so listener discretion is advised.
All right. Welcome back for round two. For those of you who, well, I guess everybody, because you're not going to know what happened, but this is our second go round. We had some technical difficulties, but with us, Alisha from Eternal Paranormal, not external. We're getting it. We'll just kind of dive in and hand off. I know that's where we were before we kind of had a meltdown there, but I'll just take from the top. We want to make sure we don't miss anything. If you want to kind of let us know who you are, what you do, and that kind of thing, and then we will go from there.
Okay. My name is Alisha McFadden. I am lead investigator of Eternal Paranormal, and I am from East Moline, Illinois, in the Quad Cities. Our team consists of myself, my husband Derek, my best friend and coworker Tiffany, and her husband Charles. And you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on TikTok and also on YouTube for Eternal Paranormal Official 1.
All right. I was still laughing because I was looking everywhere except TikTok to find you. And that's where I met you. Oh, let me tell you, when you're a one-man band and you're trying to juggle like everything, like I forget to check places. I forget. Sometimes I'll do like marketing posts or advertising posts for episodes and new releases. And then I realized like 2 days later that I totally forgot one. I was like, shit. And I got to go back and do it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. So I actually used to, well, I didn't really spend a lot of time in Illinois. It was pretty much, we used to make a joke growing up that we should blow up Illinois, just make it non-existent, and squish Indiana and Missouri together because my grandparents lived in Kirksville. And it seemed like the drive through Illinois was so horrible. Like, it was just long and boring. And, we were all kids. And so my mom had a car full of, 4 little kids, probably screaming and fighting and whatever in the back seat for the whole way. But I've actually stopped there a few times. And we actually took me and my mom, which is funny in itself because this is not my mom's gig. Like, this is not her forte. Like, I am the only weirdo in my family. No one else is interested remotely in any of this stuff. But I didn't want to, I never do ghost hunts by myself, ever. Because I'm a chicken shit. And I conned my mom into going with me to Illinois. And we went to Ashmore Estates. It works out great. We went to Illinois for this ghost hunt. You're from Illinois. Have you been to Ashmore Estates? I'm not sure how often. Okay.
It's been my second time. First time we went for a public investigation. Then the second time we just did in September. Oh my gosh, I can't remember, like 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. We went with our friends Haunted Happy Hour podcast. And we did a private overnight there.
Ooh. Well, I was dampered already because I had planned this. I bought the tickets, raring to go, been on the calendar for like 6 months. And right before we go, I get super sick. I mean,
oh, no.
Horrible, like head cold, just exhausted. I don't know if it was when I had COVID or not. I don't know. But it was like 4 or 5 days before we were supposed to go. And I was like, fuck. But I'm going. I was like, the tickets are not refundable. And my sick ass and my mom drove like 3 or 4 hours to get there. And the group we went with, I think it was it Haunted America or something? But they were great. I mean, they were awesome. I learned a ton. I kind of liked how they had things set up because they did like different groups. There's like a couple people in, kind of like what do they call those? Stations. And we went and it was super cool because like one lady had like dowsing rods and she was upstairs in one room where there was supposedly a lot of activity. And then there was we used just like a regular recorder and damn it, the REM pod.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that was in the basement. Then there was a spot by the twins. There's the twin
Yeah.
girls. Up there, they had some different types of equipment. Like they used the necrophonic app to kind of show things. They had these like a string of sensor lights as opposed to like my cat balls that I always turn on in the background here. So they had cat balls up
Oh,
there, which is
yeah.
actually where I found out about them, which has been phenomenal. My people here love them, usually. Well, some of them do. But they had this thing and they looked like crystals and they were on like a string or a rope or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
They were
a
super cool.
tripwire.
Yeah. So they had that. And then they had upstairs was a music box. And then downstairs was a music box where like you walk in front of it and it starts like playing. It looked like a little coffin. It was super adorable. But I got to learn. So like we went through and we went over kind of a little bit of the history of the place, which at this point I had already researched it. So I did get some other information that I didn't find online, which I thought was kind of cool. And then from there we, broke up into our groups and we were Team Banana. Well, it was really yellow. I just dubbed us Team Banana and everybody went with it. So so they like Team Banana instead of Team Yellow. And we went around and used all of the equipment or attempted to use the equipment. And then we all gathered back around and they did, I always feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I think I got it. Was it Estes
Yep.
method? They had two of their people do it. And then once they were done, they kind of split up and everybody kind of could do like a free range kind of thing. And my mom and I actually tried the Estes method. She was a little bit more successful than I was because I have some hearing issues that I've had since, birth, basically. I get a lot of like fluid in my ears. And so I had to have repeated surgeries to put tubes in to the point where they put so many in that now I have too much scar tissue. So now that screws up my hearing. So they tried to fix me and ended up making it worse. Go figure, modern medicine. And I have a hard time with if there's any background noise. I can't sift through very well to hear specific things because it all just blurs together. Just like if somebody's trying to talk to me and the TV's on, it's either I focus on the TV or I focus on the person. I can't do both. My brain my ears can't filter. So it was really hard for me because, they have that static and it's their white noise and it's going and going and going. And I would think that I heard something, but I couldn't make it out. And then I would like focus on it. So then I would miss the next thing that came in because I couldn't, I was just not very good at it. My mom actually was able to get a few words and she thought it was really cool, but I just couldn't understand the damn thing. They were like, okay, now you can free range. And again, I'd been sick for days. I mean, I'd drag an ass and I just felt awful. And we'd already been there for a few hours. And I was like, I can't. I was like, I know that the free roaming is what I want to do. Like, that's what I enjoy doing. Because obviously, you can get the footage and all of those experiences more so really on your own, I think, sometimes as opposed to when you're in groups, because everybody does things differently. And some things respond to other things. And so to me, I know there's a lot of cookie cutter type things that people use as far as investigating goes. But I feel like maybe the reason some people are more successful and others aren't in certain places, and then vice versa, depending on where you go, is just, I think some of the spirits just respond differently to different methods. And you do the same thing every time. It might be that whatever you're trying to get a hold of just maybe doesn't like that. And you don't know it, but you don't know to do anything else. So it just seems like you weren't very successful and they weren't there. Whereas they might have been screaming in your face and you just don't know it.
Yeah. Or sometimes they just don't like the certain people that are in there as well,
Yep.
Or like how they're speaking with them and stuff, and are they being disrespectful? How's their energy going into the building, positive and uplifting, or it's kind of like kind of icky kind of person, you know.
Yep. And I 1,000,000% agree with that. So we got to that point and I just looked at my mom and I was like, I still have to drive because my mom can't see at night. So on top of being sick, I'm driving the 3 or 4 hours there. We're there for a few hours. And then this is so weird. I don't know if you can see my screen where my video is going. I like my whole room just keeps changing colors. It's really weird.
No, I can't. I'm just on my phone, so I can't see you now.
It's so weird. It's like I'm normal, and then all of a sudden I get this like pink overlay, and it keeps doing it every now and then it just goes away, and I go back to being
Huh.
ghost white. But yeah, so we ended up leaving because I felt awful. My mom was tired, and I was just like, you know what? I'm like, it's fine. I am very good at kind of using. I don't use typically I don't use a lot of equipment. If I go anywhere, it's basically I am the radar. I can't give you details, but I can tell you whether I'm like there is either nothing in here or there's something in here. I mean, the equipment helps with where exactly are they? Maybe what are they trying to say? What do they want? I maybe can't get all of that, but I can at least tell you something's in here and it wants to, it's trying to get our attention, or it's just dead. Well, no pun intended. It's dead in here. And there's
Yeah.
really no point in spending all this time. So after we walked through the whole building, I mean, there was only one space that I kind of got a feeling about. And that's really once we had something happen, which I don't know if I have it in here or not. Well, we could just talk about it afterwards. So we'll just go ahead. For those of you who don't know about Ashmore Estates, I'm just going to go over some of the research that I found. And then once we get through that, we could talk about each of our experiences, primarily yours. I mean, I really only had like 2 things to report, so it's really not a whole big deal. But then we could talk about things that, you've encountered and stuff while you were there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Back in the day, in a nice cozy village in Coles County, Illinois, stood a brick building with a notable history. The village was known as Ashmore, and it began receiving transfers or inmates from the Coles County Poor Farm in 1870. The inmates were obviously poor. A lot of them were handicapped, and a lot of them were residents that were mentally disabled. Basically, if you were an outcast of society, this was your place. It was like the house of weirdos, I guess. The shunned, I guess you could say. But the new facility they called Ashmore Estates, it was 38 by 58 feet, where I saw, which is 11 and a half by 17.6 meters, and it was 2 stories high. That doesn't seem very big to me.
Yeah.
Like it
It's
seems more like
not.
a
They were
two-story shack.
overcrowded. It's messed up how overcrowded they were in those conditions.
Yeah, it just seemed tiny. So basically, the building compared to the average size of a typical single story house today, which I have a hard time. I'm really not good with distances and measuring. I have a hard time picturing it. Now, granted, that depends really on where you're at, because that could substantially be smaller or larger. But so I'm guessing maybe it's the size of my house, but in my head, I'm thinking 38 by 58. I'm like, surely my house is bigger than that. It's probably not, but to me, it feels like it should be. So I just had a really hard time with that. But farm was the home of around 250 inmates during the first 9 years, and there were 32 deaths in the same time frames. I wonder what the percentage of that is. That seems pretty high to me. I don't know what it's supposed to be if there is an average for death rate of inmates in institutions, but 32 out of 250 seems kind of high.
Yeah. And especially, I'm sure some of the others, there might have been more that weren't documented because their documentation back then isn't what it is today.
The only thing I could think of where there were a lot of times where that's pretty much the only time that you could rely on anybody's count method, because I don't know back then if they did the same thing, but in a lot of more current houses that operate the same way and kind of function the same way, you get money for taking these people in. So you really want to make sure. I mean, if anything, it should be an inflated count so that you get more money as opposed to not counting everybody there. But I don't know if that was the case then. I don't know if they had the same type of structure. There had to been some kind of incentive, right? I mean, otherwise, why would
Right.
they get all these people? Who knows? But those 32 corpses, I was told, should be buried at the county cemetery, which was at the north end of the property. However, as time passed, a upper cemetery was opened, and 60 to 100 bodies are reportedly buried there. Now, nobody really knows how many of these skeletons belonged to inmates of Ashmore Estates or just, I guess, poor bastards that died. I don't know. So it's just kind of like, build a hole and toss them, I guess. I mean, it didn't seem like there was a lot of paperwork. I mean, once they're gone, you don't get anything for them. So who cares, right? In theory.
Right.
But as with most facilities tasked with this type of housing, the conditions drastically deteriorated by 1902. By 1911, authorities actually condemned the building due to, and this is a quote, vermin-infected walls, rough floors, small windows with poor ventilation, and swarms of flies that contaminated the food. End quote. That is fucking disgusting. Like, I can't even imagine being in a place like that. I don't really know what rough
it's
floors means,
very
though.
sad.
Would rough floors be maybe the foundation wasn't steady? Were
I
they
don't
missing
know.
pieces of floor? I mean, that's really weird. It just says rough floors, and I'm like, I don't know. Small windows with poor ventilation. Now that I think about it, I don't remember seeing that many windows at all. Then the state took bids to replace the beat up building, but waited until about 1915 to do so. Then construction broke ground for the new building in May of 1916. Wow, that came out really slangy there. Whoop, my bad. By then, new incentives were available to address poverty, and Social Security was created. Here we go. Shortly after, so less people needed to find refuge of the poorhouse. So it's kind of, I guess, like the opposite. So people were getting those types of benefits that they no longer needed. Well, you could be poor and support yourself instead of being poor in a poor house because you have nowhere to go, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd say I can't even imagine. Ashmore Estates Incorporated then purchased the original housing structure in Cole County in February of 1959, hoping to run it as a privately owned psychiatric hospital, because that doesn't ever end well. Unfortunately, though, the project only lasted 5 years, and the hospital closed in 1964 as a result of too much debt. Thank God, because I'm sure it would have just been absolutely horrifying after that anyway. But I can't even. Oh, I just can't. I can't do it. 1965, the hospital was restructured and reopened, taking in patients from various state mental institutions. Oh my gosh, this place is horrible. Sorry. I'm just like, this is just like one bad scenario after another. This place has got it rough.
Yeah.
By 1968, 49 patients resided in the institution according to their records. Paul Swinford and, oh my gosh, Gallon Martini? No idea. Something like that. But they purchased the site in 1976. And as soon as they purchased it, they added an entire extra wing and worked really hard at getting the institution back up to code so that it could be reopened, which took all the way till the mid 1980s for all of that reconstruction and, making sure we met the codes and all of that to be completed. However, the doors closed again by April of 1986. This place was just not destined to be open, I don't think. And this one actually happened because the owners contacted the Department of Public Aid and the Department of Public Health to get their licenses and certifications. Unfortunately, they found themselves armpit deep in bureaucracy that inhibited them from making any profits. This really wasn't their fault. They spent all this time and money. They rebuild this facility. They get it up to going, and they're trying to be good, law-abiding citizens to go get any licenses and certifications in order to run this place as it should be ran. Only to be thrown in this hellhole of some sort of saw plus like corn maze that made it virtually impossible for them to obtain what they needed to actually make a profit off of it. So, of course, after a while, the owners filed for permission to close because they lost over $1.5 million. And all they were trying to do was help people. And I think that these two genuinely wanted to help people. They didn't just, slap it together. They didn't half-ass it or what. It seems to me like they actually took the time to make sure every single thing, all the bells and whistles, all of it was up to code. And they clearly spent over $1.5 million in the 80s to make this happen. So I feel like they really were genuinely trying to get something in place to help people that needed it, only to be snuffed out by the government. Go figure. In 1998, the property was purchased by, Arthur Colcluster? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is a horrible name. For a mere $12,500. I would like to point the people before him, $1.5 million. This dude bought it for $12,500.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And his only plan was to turn it into a private home. Why? Why
What?
would you do that? Yeah, that was his goal. However, thank God, due to relentless vandalism, the property was then sold to a man named Scott Kelly in 2006. In May of 2014, Robin and Norma Terry gained ownership of the property. Good gravy. This place is like a little fucking hot potato real estate. And since the 2014, since these people have owned it, they're the ones currently owning it that allow people to come in and to investigate. And they haven't done any renovations. Everything, the last time it was renovated is the last time it was touched. No, they haven't done anything to it. But that's pretty much where it stands there. And so I was able to find some information about frequently reported activity in the building and surrounding areas. People say that boards have been seen flying through the air. I have no idea what that means. I'm thinking like planks of wood. Is it like a sheet of
board?
Like boards, like all aboard? What is that crap called? My brain.
Loose planks.
Yes. See, that's what I'm trying to figure. I'm like, is it a marker board? Is it a board from the floor? Is it like, what the hell are they talking about? But supposedly, whatever it is, it's flying through the air. There is a vivid, which is how it's described, apparition of a deceased inmate that is said to be seen around the building. A lot of people think that it is a man named Joe Bloxam. Story goes that he was walking back to the poor farm via the railroad tracks after a long day of work. Unfortunately, he was struck from behind by a train, but managed to survive the initial blow, which, what the hell? He then limped all the way back to the house before succumbing to his injuries. It says sometimes he appears so clear that people can identify his individual features to point him out. And I'm still over here like, he got hit by a train and fucking walked away. How the hell did that happen?
I would have thought somebody would have brought him there. Like, how in the heck does he walk back,
Well, I don't know where he was going, but yeah, if they were so poor, they didn't have any means of transportation. And it might not have been anything mandated by the facility, like we're going to force you to go work. So there's like a work bus or whatever. I don't know, a bunch of carpool. I know it's like horrible. I mean, not being judgy. I literally know people that do that. Or, like a rural transit or something. So maybe he was just, that was the best way for him to know where he was at without getting lost. And he was just trying his best to make as much money as he could to try to get out of the poorhouse, maybe. Either way, kudos to getting hit by a train and fucking walking away.
And then my thing is, I don't remember seeing railroad tracks or even like, I wonder where the railroad tracks were actually at. So like, how far did he actually have to go to get back,
Yeah. So I'm trying to think if if I remember seeing any. I thought maybe I did from the direction I came, but I probably came from a totally
Yeah.
direction than you. But I also didn't really walk around outside. It was like 12 degrees outside and windy when we were there, so we didn't walk around outside. I mean, it was really cold inside, obviously, because
We
there's
did.
no
We were
heat.
crazy.
Well, if I wasn't already sick and like hacking up
Yeah,
a
true.
lung, I probably would have, tried to go through and didn't want to make my poor mother walk outside. Bless her heart.
Yeah, for sure.
So we didn't really go around there too much. People were said to have been shoved in the boiler room by a spirit that is like, if basically, okay, let me rewind this. So the boiler room is, remember I told you I had two things? One
Yes.
was the boiler room.
Okay.
And it was a little different. A lot of people say, like, so you go in, and basically, if you're in there too long, a lot of people report that someone's like shoving them around, like, get the hell out of here.
Hmm.
So maybe they just don't really like visitors. Another thing, there's a particular man. I, for the life of me, can't remember. I didn't write it down. I did these notes like a month before I actually went to visit. So, and I didn't take anything with me to make notes because I'm an idiot. They said there's like a man, and some people just think the man's just a dick. Like they're just like, he's an asshole. He's just a angry old man. Some people say it's not that he's just grumpy. He just doesn't like women.
That's the
And
janitor. They say that that's Joe. Joe down
yes,
there.
okay. So those were the two things that we got. And at the end, we'll get more into what exactly happened in that area for me. But that's just something that people have reported. A lot of disembodied voices and weird sounds are often reported. There have been reports of a child that will hold people's hands and like tug on their shirts. And a lot of people think that this particular spirit was used to be, well, I guess it still is. I guess it used to be isn't really a word, but was a little girl by the name of Elva. And she lived in the poorhouse with her mother in 1880. Now, unfortunately, sweet little Elva always wore these little dresses. And one night, a spark from something like the stove heater. So it says they had a little stove heater going. It's cold. Spark came out, lit her on fire, and she just basically burned to death. Something, maybe, I don't know. There's something there that I physically saw that was her, but I couldn't think of what it was. But I remember seeing a picture of the twins up on the wall. So that was always really cool. Speaking of the devils, others have said that two female spirits respond to being read to, I guess, by the visitors. These twins, as far as I understood, were mentally handicapped, but they weren't violent or anything, as far as I understood. They usually are most active in a room that's close to the front of the building on the second story, which is where their rooms were, I believe. I could get my directions right.
Hmm.
And there's been reports in that area of, again, random sounds, EVPs, spikes in the EMF readers. A lot of people, when they take those sensors, they'll set the sensors off and then the music box and that kind of thing while they're up there. A lot of people also see just shadow-y figures kind of around the building. People say that they find just weird stuff on film, just surprise things, which I don't really get because it didn't actually explain to me what those surprises were. I'm like, when you're filming, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could be a surprise, right? Like, I
I'm
don't know if there's,
assuming probably like figures or something,
yeah,
maybe
like a face, maybe.
apparition. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Those are the ones that I was able to find online that were primarily what the general public has reported over the years. I'll run through because mine's only like two little things, so I'll just get them out of the way. And then I will ask you or let you talk about stuff that you experienced there just to see maybe we had the same or something similar, same area or whatever. Maybe there's something. I mean, really, we split up and we went down to the boiler room and they turned all the lights off. And we were supposed to sit there with our eyes closed. Now we weren't actually in the room in the back. We
Hmm.
were, I was in a chair next to an actual boiler and my mom was in a chair right by the door. My mom has seen, I think, a couple things over the years, but not very much. She's maybe like a smidge sensitive. So, and she even said that she felt uncomfortable a couple times in that seat by the door. And she said, like, something almost felt like it walked by her. Like, you could feel like a breeze when somebody walks by you.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like a 45 or 90, well, hold on, 45 to 90-degree angle on the other side of the wall or on the other side of the room. And what's weird is basically I felt like, I'm like, there's something in here. And then it felt like something like walked by me. And then she said she felt something feel like it walked by her. And if that was the case, it would have been walking from outside, like the other room, into that back boiler room, because it walked by me and then by her and then into the room. And it was just a little uneasy. But again, when we were doing our stuff with the people that were there, we weren't allowed to film anything. No recording, no nothing. It was literally, we used their equipment until they cut us loose at the end, and then we could record. Which is frustrating a little bit, because he was talking about, he had this really, really old, like one of the old recorders,
Mm-hmm.
probably made when I was born. He's like, well, this is my favorite one. He's like, the other ones, they just don't work the same. He's like, if you can get your hands on one of these old ones, they seem to work better.
Is
And
it
we were
like
like,
the
oh,
one with the cassette?
yeah, but he didn't have anything, like he could play it back, but we couldn't plug it into anything.
Yeah.
Which is a little frustrating. So we got in there. Well, there was a cafeteria room, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
started in there. We all went around, we had our circle, and he, hit record. And then we all asked the exact same question until we got all the way around. And then he played it back. And what was interesting was, so we go all the way around. There's this guy like across from me, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but there was something about him. I didn't know what it was, but he was just different. Not really like a good or a bad thing. I just knew that he was different than, there was like two girls that were kind of, I could tell that they were sensitive. They were a different type of sensitive than I was, but they were at least, they could get some stuff. And then this guy was different than them. It was really kind of, it's weird. I'm not usually in a room with multiple people who have different of the same things, because I was like, oh, usually I'm like the only weirdo in the group, but it is definitely different when you have other people there that have weird stuff. But we asked what his favorite color was or something, and we got nothing until it hit this guy. The guy asked, it talked right during the pause, and then after that, nothing. So then we asked it another question. And again, we all, same question, same spacing, nothing. This kid asked, he got an answer, and then it moved on. It was like it only wanted to talk to this guy. It was weird, which is cool. So then they wrangled up all us girls, and they stuck us in the back boiler room to see what would happen. Because why not, right? He hits the record button. He hands it to, I don't remember who, one of the girls in there. And he's like, just ask whatever you want. Just keep asking questions, and just anything you could think of. I'm just not getting any, I call, juju or mojo or whatever. My spidey senses were not tingling. And all these girls are just asking. And then all of a sudden it was like, I felt like there was some, like, I couldn't tell exactly what, but it was like something changed in the room. And all I did was pipe up and just ask. I was like, was there anything that you want to say? And then like we just kept going. So when we played it back after we left, the guy came and got us, and he played it back for us. And these girls, there's probably like 8 of us in this room, and everyone's like asking a bunch of questions. Nothing. The moment I asked my question, it was an immediate response. It's actually 2 responses. There was like one response that kind of, you couldn't make out what it said, but it was like a more of a feminine voice. And then a not very happy male voice, like right afterwards. And I was like, well, that was weird. But then it went away because we couldn't make out what it was saying anyway. Once we were done down there and we were going to go back upstairs and everybody was going to get back together, the guy hit the recorder. He went down into the room, and he like set the recorder on this table, and he said, thanks for letting the girls come in, or what'd you think of the girls or whatever. And he hit, like, he was recording the whole time, and then he waits and then comes back out. And I actually have the recording I don't know if I can get it. Actually, let me see if I can get it. I'll insert the clip into the audio.
Cool.
And I swear this thing says my name. Man's voice, and it like says my name, and then I swear after that I hear that same female voice. I thought, to me it sounded like it was saying help me, and I'm like, oh great, like that makes me feel good. That is not what you want to hear when you're in a haunted building. It specifically wants you, the guy wants you, and the girl wants you to help her. I'm like, oh awesome, like what are you doing to this poor woman in that room? Say, oh look, oh my gosh, my ball's going off. Something is talking to me. Sorry, my cat ball just went off.
Right.
So, okay, well, whatever you are, maybe she came home with me because I got this woman that keeps talking to me when I'm editing. She comes in my headphones. It's really weird. She seems polite though. When he talks, it sounds very clearly like 3 syllables. This thing's still going off. Nobody else in the room had 3 syllables. I was the only person who had 3 syllables in my name. Gotta be me. Like it sounds like my name. That thing is still fucking going off. Please take a moment to check out the link in the description of this episode. There, I have designed some t-shirts specifically for June's charity of the month. We have Cryptids Against Cancer, Conspire to Cure, and Let's Ghost Cancer, as well as Cancer Ribbon with the name of the podcast. Any item has the ability for you guys to select a donation amount that will contribute at the end of the month to stand up to cancer. Thank you again to everybody who's already contributed to the charity. And for everybody who hasn't yet, head over. What are you waiting on? Let's make a difference today. That thing is still going off. That is weird. And my face is like it's on fire now. Fantastic.
Huh.
Someone's visiting me. Hello. Okay, there. That's like it finally quit. Why can't I find you? All my little things are like blank. What is happening? Oh, and the ball's going off. So I guess whatever it is in here. Hi. I don't know who you are, but thanks for joining us. I'm sure you're going to be talking in my microphone. I'll find it later.
Yep. Probably coming to check us out, check me out, see who I am.
Yeah. So it's the same ball too that keeps going off. I've got 4 of them. What kind of stuff did you experience while you were there?
The very first thing that happened, we were up on the 2nd floor, and we were setting up our equipment. So we put down a cat ball by one door. Some of the guys went down the hallway and we're putting a music box down there. And so we're kind of all like spread out on the 2nd floor, just kind of set things up. And as I start to walk away from the nurse's station, like we all heard this loud bang, like this loud thud. So we all freak out, turn around to see what the heck just happened. So we run towards the noise, and it came from the nurse's station because all of a sudden I was like, where did that come from? Okay, so I go behind the nurse's station, and on the shelf is Derek's gimbal. And I was like, Derek, where was this at? Because it wasn't there before. He was like, that was in my bag. And he showed me, like, he had it sticking straight up and down. And there was no way it was going to fall. So it had to literally been picked up out of the bag and thrown.
Holy shit. Well, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember where the nurse's room is. Okay, so the area that we all just kind of gathered around, there's like a big open space, and there was like chairs and a table, and then there was the room behind it that had the bed in it. Is that the floor, or is it a different floor?
2nd floor, right by Mary and Margaret's room.
Oh, okay. You just made me remember something. That same space. All right, so I was on the far end by Mary and Margaret's room, and my mom, bless her heart, they said that last time they were there, they had somebody report something in the doorway. Like they were standing in the doorway of this one room, and it had a bunch of like storage stuff and like a rocking chair. or I think there's actually a wheelchair and then a rocking chair or something.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, and they had my mom stand in the doorway, and they had the app going, the Spirit Box app, and they were in there, and we were just kind of sitting there, and it's all dark. And all of a sudden, this girl that was in the room, like by the wheelchair, comes flying, like tackles my mom, like throws her out of the doorway. She's screaming bloody murder. Two other people that were in there, they're yelling, and they're all running out of the room. My mom even jumped and came away from the door. Something in that room, and I have like serious goosebumps everywhere right now. Something in that room, it sounded like something just huge thud, like on the ground. Oh my gosh, the light's going off again. Hi. It was just this huge thud, and it was right by this girl. And I mean, she got so scared. She was screaming like bloody murder. It was kind of funny. And then we were trying to look around with our flashlights, and nothing really looked like it was out of place, but something had to have fallen. I mean, I heard it down the hallway hit. It was weird. Because it wasn't the same area. So I wonder if it's the same thing, just kind of walking the halls.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they could have free range of the whole building, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the fact that they had to pick it and chuck it, that is insane.
Yeah, I know, because I was trying to debunk it, like how, okay, so that wasn't there before. We all like freaked out, and we went towards that area that we heard the sound come from, banged that on the desk. And I was like, okay, so it wasn't like sitting here on the top and didn't slide and fall over. He's like, no, this was in my bag, standing straight up like this. So he showed us. So I was like, okay. So it was on the opposite side, like where the hall is. And so it would have had to like jump over his bag and land right on the bottom shelf of the nurse's station.
Oh my goodness. I might have yeeted.
Yeah, and I thought it was oh my god, but then again it was like freaking awesome, because we didn't even start investigating yet, and we were already having stuff happen.
Oh my gosh.
And it's heavy. That gimbal is heavy too.
I mean, it's got to be something was hyped up, because like you said, that's got to take a lot of energy to, like, I'm cool, like if you're talking or like I see you from like across, I mean, preferably don't just like, jump scare me, but if I see you, that's fine, like it's cool. But I think if things started just flying around me, there's a good chance I'd probably yeet. It's for sure. I'd be like, no.
We actually got that on the live too. Like you can hear it. Like, and then I went towards it, and I show it all on the live what happened. And this is on our Facebook page for anyone that wants to check it out.
Oh, I'll definitely be checking it out.
Yeah, for sure. And then so after that, we had a laser grid set up on a chair. We put a chair in the hallway, aiming down the hall, and a cat ball by the door on the left on the ground. And we all kind of were off side of each of the hallway, by the doors and stuff. And we started asking questions, and all of a sudden my husband goes, he freaks out. And then we're like, what? And Tiffany was kind of behind him, and she moved, so she scared him. And what was even crazier was that when we all started laughing at him, the cat ball started going off.
Oh, so it was like pulling a prank, and it was like, ha, gotcha, bitch.
It was laughing because Derek got scared. So then something else happened again, and it was about Derek, and we were laughing again, and it starts going off again. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh. So you had spectral humor just nailing this guy.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like it's all about like how you go into a building and like the type of energy that you bring, like whether or not you're going to get certain activity, and we all felt like it could have been Elva, because it was like, haha, kind of like
that's
laughing,
exactly
joking,
what I was thinking.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, because like even here, I have multiple people that just kind of hang out with me all the time. And usually if it's anything like prank related, or something, like if it's kid related or prank related, my kids will light up the balls. I think it's them because they're pranksters and you got to watch
Yeah.
them. Only they like to pull their pranks at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
usually, which is not cool with me because they like to wake me up in the middle of the night. And but some of them, we have an older lady, and if I have the spirit box on, you could tell when it's her. It's Gertrude, and she just talks like an older lady. She'll be like disrespectful, quiet down, keep it down, go away. Like she's just not. She's just like a little old lady. And then
Yeah.
apparently Philip's I think he's got a sense of humor. He likes jokes because a lot of times he'll light up whenever I get jokes, but yeah, I think a lot of it too is what's there. And it does sound a lot like it's probably her, which is awesome.
For sure, because we definitely had her follow us home. Well, she tried to come back with us after we left the
Oh,
next day, but there was a lot more stuff that happened before we jumped to that part of the stuff that we had happen to us.
oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a hard no for me.
It was kind of cool the way that she did it, though. But yeah, the next thing that happened, I can't remember what else we did besides that. Let me think. I'm trying to think of the chain of events. So I know at one point we decided to go out to the tree because the
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the
Jack
tree. I didn't mention
Osborne
it.
episode, yeah, of him bringing the cadaver dogs, the 3 cadaver dogs, and they all
Yep.
pinpointed that the bodies were there. So we wanted to go out, even though it was like 12 degrees, like you said, at the time that we went, freezing. So we literally lasted like 10 minutes out there, but we decided to set a cat ball down by the tree, and my husband put the mag light down for the flashlight method. So we backed up from the tree. We just kind of stood there for a minute, kind of picked up, like seeing if we could feel anything, started asking some questions, and then all of a sudden, boom, the flashlight just pops on. Well, actually, okay, I got to explain. Before that happened, we were like, is it just me, or did they get really dark and really still? Like, I felt like stillness
Hmm.
because it felt like there was a bunch of people like surrounding you, like coming
Yeah.
in between the people, us standing next to each other. It's like that, like where it breaks the wind. So there was like no wind. It was still. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're talking about that. The flashlight pops on and the cat ball starts going off also. And
Oh,
we did
wow.
catch that on live as well. So
That
what we
is,
were feeling was legit. Something was there. Something was changing the energy around us in the air.
yeah. And it is the corpse tree.
And it was like dark out, because it's 2 a.m, but it just got even darker out there when all this was going on.
Oh, man. That just sounds intense. Like, I wanted to go out there, but I was just like, man, like, I'll probably die of pneumonia if I go out there. I think the spirits know, like, when there's a weak link. And they'll use that. Well, maybe not the spirits as much, but definitely if there's anything demonic anywhere in the vicinity, it's going to target you if you are sick or just off your game or older or whatever. Like, it's going to target the ones that it thinks are more susceptible.
Yeah.
And I got a pretty good feeling. I was like, I do not need to go out to the death tree when I feel like I'm dying. I was like, I don't need that shit in my life. No, thank you. It's like I will stay in here, which is interesting because we didn't really have that much. But you seem like you had a lot more activity.
Well, I feel like it was because there was just less people there too, I feel
Oh yeah,
like the less people that there is, that it definitely is less intimidating and like overwhelming for them to want to communicate also.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember like another thing that we did was we went to Mary and Margaret's room, all of us. Vanessa, she was reading the book, and we had a cat ball, a REM pod set up on the sill of the window, and I can't remember what other piece of equipment we had set up. But she starts reading, and all of a sudden the REM pod starts kind of going off on the windowsill, And so that was just something small. We did have some kind of hits in there. But then while she was reading, I kind of went towards the door. She continued reading. And all of a sudden we hear a loud bang. So that was definitely a door. I was like, did you hear that? And Vanessa had already looked at me. No, it was Lily. Lily looked at me and she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, everyone, just be quiet for a minute. See if we hear any footsteps or anything. And I was like, hello? I was like, I wonder if the caretaker's kid and his girlfriend was back in the room or something, or maybe they left because they were there. They stayed there, but they were in their own room downstairs on the first floor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go try and investigate. So I ran down the stairs and I go through the side door and I'm looking around and there's nobody.
Ugh. That's the worst.
So we definitely heard a loud door slam. We all heard it plain as day with our own ears. And then another part of the night, Vanessa and Lily, when we were up on the third floor, they were talking about they keep seeing the hall, like the end of the hall, the light of the stairs, that kept going off. And something has to physically walk in front of it for it to set off.
It's got the sensor lights on it.
So it kept going off and on. And we actually have on my camera footage, not my actual live feed, but I had a stationary camera set up on third floor all night, aiming down the hallway with the laser light, the cat ball, and we actually did catch that light going off and on all night, and there was nobody coming up and down those stairs. And actually, we caught the cat ball going off in that same spot that it was going off at earlier too on its own when no one was up there or around.
That's so crazy. I mean, I wonder sometimes, like, I think they just kind of wander around, but I'm like, I don't think they sleep. So do they just walk? Can you imagine, like, all day, every day, you don't even sleep, you just walk?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd be slamming doors too. I guess it's bullshit.
I mean, there was just so much stuff that we had happen that night. The very last thing that we did was the Estes method. Vanessa Lily went first. She lay down in the bed where the memorial room is for the old caretaker that was there. And we were getting some things, and I remember a number popping up, 57 or something like that, or 48 or something. And I was like, is that your age? Or is that, and someone was like, is it a year? And we're like, okay, so let's go check the wall of all the pictures of the gravestones with the names. And sure as shit, we found the name of the person that died in like whatever that number was. So then we automatically put two and two together that this is the spirit we were speaking to. And I can't remember. I know it was a male, but I cannot remember his name, unfortunately. Sorry, spirit.
Sorry, dude. It's okay.
But after the little Estes method in that room, we decided to let Lily go this time. I'm sorry, not Lily. I just said Lily. Vanessa go this time. So she went under, had the blindfold on and the noise-canceling headphones, and she laid on the electroshock therapy bed.
Ugh.
I want to go back to the first time that I went to Ashmore Estates. This was during the public investigation. I actually laid on that electroshock therapy bed myself, and I am kind of in tune myself. So as soon as I laid on that bed and I closed my eyes, I tried to pick up on anything. And immediately I got an image of these two people standing over me on either side, and I just could not move my body, and I was scared to death.
Hell no.
That's all that flashed in my head. So flash forward to this method. Now Vanessa's laying on the bed, and we started asking questions, and then Derek was asking questions. It was like, no, I didn't want to talk to Derek. I didn't want to answer anything that he was saying. So I started asking
my ball's
questions.
going off. Oh, shoot. I
I
guess they
wonder
think
if
it's funny
it's one
too.
of my spirits
Maybe. It
because
really
we
likes
are
this one
talking about
ball.
Ashmore
Mm-hmm.
and this one spirit. So it could be, who knows? So I started asking questions, and honestly, my stomach has never
Oh, it
dropped
goes
like
again.
this before. And it said, Alisha, said my name, plain as day. So I was like, how do you know my name? Do you remember me from when I laid on the bed before? Then it says death. I go, fuck. It
What?
said, Alisha, death. So
No, thank
I
you.
was honestly like, okay, in my mind, or because we don't know, like, can spirits see, our deaths? Do they know when we're gonna die, or whatever? So then my mind kind of went that direction, but
Yeah.
I pulled myself out of it because I don't know if that's accurate, and I'm not trying to freak myself out about this. So I get back to asking questions, and then, it was like, see. So I remembered, okay, so it knew that I could see what happened to them
Yeah.
because Alisha, see death. I put all that together. I was shaking. I was crying. They were like, filth, mess, something like it. Filth, mess. I remember that. And so I was just bawling. I was like, I am so sorry what happened to you and the conditions that you had to live in. You should not have ever had to gone through that. And everyone was just shocked about the communication that I was having with the spirit. And it said, thank you. I was like, for what? It says method. And we were
Aw.
doing the Estes method. So it thanked me for communicating with him or
Well, that was
her.
nice.
It did. It was so emotional. Like, we tapped Vanessa out, and she was like, what just happened? Because she just sees everyone's looks on their faces, and they're all like, oh my God. And I was like, I gotta walk. I gotta step out of this room. I need a breather because I was just,
Yeah.
it was so many emotions.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it sounds
to know that I
intense.
tapped into the spirit from last time I was there.
That is really cool that it remembered you, though.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of people, they struggle with whether or not these things are coherent, or if they're just on like residual loops or whatever. I don't know. I could see both. I mean, I guess it really kind of depends on the spirit, right?
Yeah.
Definitely intense. I just don't know. I'm like, I don't know how I would handle that.
It was the most overwhelming, like, deep conversation that I've ever had with the spirit. And I will never forget that. And I told him or her, whoever it is, that I'm going to come back, to visit them. That this isn't the end of me coming back to Ashmore to see them. So,
Yeah, that's so cool. Because I wonder if they do have any. I don't know if I want to say I guess boundaries, where maybe certain ones, maybe Mary and Margaret stay on that floor by their room. Maybe what's his face stays in the boiler room or in the basement. I mean, I wonder if they have zones that they prefer,
yeah. I
whether
feel
it's by
like that
choice or not.
I feel like that spirit is confined to that
Hmm.
space, or not really the space, because honestly, the electroshock therapy bed, that wasn't in that room the last time I was there. It was in a
Yeah,
different room.
I think that
So I feel
they
like
stick
it
to
was connected to that.
hmm. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things where if it is important enough to the spirit, they'll attach itself, which I guess is how you end up with haunted dolls and haunted this and haunted that, as opposed to a haunted place. I guess just kind of depending on what exactly. I don't know what determines that or anything like that. It's kind of like, if you have a haunted house, but you tear the house down, if you rebuild, then odds are that house is haunted too. Sometimes it's the
Right.
land, sometimes it's the house. Like, I don't know what creates the different bondings to items or space. I'm just like,
Could
man,
be the emotional connection to
yeah, I
it.
think there's a lot. There's a lot we don't know, I guess.
1,000% agree. For sure.
And like, what if it's people? Like, what if it's attached to a person? Why one person and not another person? Say you have like a grandparent. Like, so my grandparents passed away over the last few years. No one else has heard or seen them, but I have. I've seen them a couple times, and we just chat. They come visit, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And then they leave. But I sometimes wonder what happens if people. Okay, let's assume that somebody's not sensitive, and someone attaches themselves to that person, but that person has no idea. What happens to that spirit then? Does it just follow them around in the dark all the time?
Maybe just
Does it run out
hanging
of
around
energy?
for like making sure that nothing bad happens to them, you know?
That makes sense.
Like certain signs, like a butterfly or something, you know, something that
Yep.
was significant to them, you know?
Well, and I sometimes wonder about that too, because I have some people that are like, oh, a certain bird or a certain, I'm like, if a bird came up to my window, I would not, there's birds everywhere. Like, why would you think that
Right.
that bird? So I struggle a lot sometimes with it, and which is funny because I am very sensitive and I've had all of these encounters and interacted with all of these things, but I still am very skeptical a lot of times of some people, mainly because it's like I said, say they live in a house for 15 years and that fucking bird's been there. It's been there for years. But it doesn't mean anything to these people until somebody dies and then miraculously this bird's important, but it's been there for years and they never noticed it.
Yeah.
So like that's the stuff that gets me because I'm like, well, how do you know? I mean, unless it comes up and basically like smacks you in the face or something, or I guess throw something in your case. Like, how do you know? Like to me, I have a hard time trying to figure that out because how I don't know. Can they still do things even if a person's not sensitive? Can they still do things to get their attention? I would assume so, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting. But yeah, sounds like you had an eventful day. Like mine really wasn't that bad. It would have been so much cooler if we had the other stuff. I don't know. Maybe it would have been more interactive, but like you said, there were a lot of people. There was like 20 people.
Yeah.
At least 20 people. And
Well,
they
I'm
were
not,
going
yeah.
in and out, and and it wasn't like we all traveled in a pack. We were spread out everywhere. So
Yeah.
even say there was like 30 people, there's still like 10 people in a group, and 10 of us were on each floor. So it kind of, if something wanted to avoid us, it'd be hard to avoid us. But at the same time, if it wanted to do something and it just didn't want to interact, I feel like it made it harder because maybe it was shy or doesn't want to do something. I don't know. It just doesn't want to that day. With having so many people and so many different types of people in there, I feel like it can sometimes like muddy the waters, and maybe they do better on like certain, like you said, certain types of energy and stuff. And when you have kind of like this mixed pool of, because you had everyone from me who I've done this stuff and I've had all these experiences, like I totally get it and I'm very open to it. Like it doesn't bother me because it happens to me so often that it's literally just like a day in the life for me. And but then we had people that have never had any activity and they were just chomping at the bit to have any, they wanted to see or hear anything, and you could just smell it on them,
Yeah.
and it was making me, like, I was picking up on it was making them uncomfortable because they were pushing, 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 pushing. I'm like, they don't want to fucking talk to you. Leave them alone.
Exactly.
Like they're telling me that they want you to go. So go, disappear, do something. I don't know, go to the bathroom. It's
Oh,
hard when you have like 5 layers of clothing on and you're in a porta potty.
I know, right?
Oh, I was sitting there, I was like, man, gotta pee. And I'm like, fuck. I've got like 3 layers
It's
of long
so
johns, 2
cold in
pairs of
there.
pants. And I'm like, how am I even gonna do this? Uh, we got it done though. We did. And they had cocoa, so that was nice.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, it didn't even end there. Like I had two more things that I had to talk about with our experience there. So this was the end of the night and we're all laying down beds in the bunkhouse, and Derek and Charles were already asleep, my husband and Tiffany's husband, and the rest of us girls were kind of in and out of it. It was like 4 a.m. at this point. We went all night.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're just on our phones, just sitting there trying to fall asleep finally. And we started hearing me and what was that? Vanessa. Vanessa was lying in the bed next to me. We heard a shh, and we both sat up and we looked at each other. I was like, "You heard that?" She's like, "Yeah." "Is that one of the guys snoring?" So she's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Okay, so let's just wait a minute and see if it happens again." It never happened again.
Weird.
So
Were
we were
you
kind of like,
spectrally shushed?
yeah, I felt like something was telling us, "Shush, it's time to go to bed." Like something telling us to be quiet. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. Okay. You guys were actively trying to fall asleep, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a baby that can't sleep, what do you do to it?
Shush it.
Besides you walk it around and go, shh, like it's
Yeah.
okay. Shh. So maybe, I mean, maybe it was a mom that was there and was just like, shh, like go sleep, guys. Like it was just trying to
Yeah,
help you sleep.
it could have been. Then later, we started hearing knocking. I swear, it was like me and Vanessa just kept hearing stuff all night. And we never heard the knocking again. I was like, "Where's that coming from?" I was like, "This sounds like it was over by the door, honestly." But we're in a bunkhouse. We're outside. We have the unit that is pushing the air into the bunkhouse. So I was like, it could have been, that or
Yeah.
the settling of the bunkhouse. So we can't really say that that's paranormal, but that was definitely something.
Yeah,
But
that's crazy.
yeah, it was. Because we
It does.
both heard it, not just one
Yeah.
person or the other.
I'm just wondering. I mean, it really does sound like somebody was just trying to help you guys go to sleep,
Yeah.
like all little babies. At
So
least it's
the
not
next
like
day
get up,
we
bitch.
left. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or like
The
throwing
next
shit
day
in your
we
room.
left. And me and Vanessa and Lily, we were in one car and the guys were in the other car. So apparently during Vanessa and Lily's solo in Mary and Margaret's room, we were all out in the bunkhouse at this point. I guess they were playing nursery rhyme songs on their phone. So we are just leaving down the gravel road, and all of a sudden, the songs that they were playing last night starts playing on the stereo in the car.
Oh hell no.
And
Nope.
Lily's like, "What the heck?" She's like, "Why is it playing these songs?" And all of a sudden it switches over to another one. I was like, "Guys, it's Elva." And so they're like, "Elva." We're like, "Elva, you need to go home, honey. You cannot come home with us. You need to go back to the States, okay? We'll come back and see you."
Oh my
And
gosh.
after we did that, it stopped. So, yeah, we had a
That
little
is-
hitchhiker. She was trying to come home with us.
I love how she just like takes control of the radio. And so what I'm picturing is two grown-ass women in the front seat. You have one grown-ass woman in the back seat, and you guys are just doing whatever. And I just see this little girl with her legs crossed and her hands on her lap. And she's just, bebopping to her own tune in the back seat, maybe humming along like do 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 do, and like nursery rhymes are going. That's what I'm picturing in my head. She's just like, and then you're like, Elsa, she's like, "Oh shit, I'm busted."
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, come on, guys.
We didn't even make it like 5 minutes down the road, and this is all going on. So, yeah, she went back.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. But that is what I'm picturing, just like, little girl just kind of like, oh, like she thinks she just belongs there. She's like, okay, let's go.
Just pressing buttons on the stereo.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't want to listen to this, guys. The wheels on the bus go.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, that is so freaking funny. Yeah, I don't, as far as I know, I generally, we sage everything, which I know sage is kind of like controversial depending on which way you look at it. But so far
Yeah.
it's done me pretty good. For the most part, and at least at home, it suppresses things. It doesn't get rid of them, but it suppresses it and kind of calms them down for a while. But if I go places, we usually, sage everything before we leave just to make sure that whatever stays, stays. And so far, I've, knock on wood, not had anything that I know of come home with me. Crap. So we had a neighbor that died last year. We called him Scooter Man because he had a little electric scooter.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he always rode around on it. I played ball with his granddaughter. And he was so sweet. My dog hated him. He hated the scooter, actually. So anytime Scooter Man would be around, my dog would, lose his shit. But I don't know what his name was, like his real name. But he died. So in my neighborhood, primarily, there's only like us and like 2 other houses that have like younger people in it. Everybody else
Yeah.
is like really old. And I'm like, maybe did somebody die like nearby? And they just kind of, because I think things just kind of, I'm like a beacon and they just kind of like moth to the flame.
Yeah.
So every now and then I have things that like pop in and out, but I have some that just stay here all the time. But I have no idea where the hell Philip came from.
Sounds like we need to investigate.
Yeah. But I mean, on the plus side though, he seems pretty benign. He doesn't, put off any, bad mojo or anything. He seems pretty chill and likes to laugh and
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, you can stay as long as you're cool. My face looked like I got like kicked in the face. Like I literally had a footprint on the side of my face for like an hour
What
one
the
day.
heck?
Like I was in the middle of a recording and I was like, gosh, I was like, my face is on fire. I was like, it's hot. And the lady that I was recording with are like, well, your face is kind of red. And I turned and it looked like a footprint on the side of my face. And it stayed there the whole time. As soon as I stopped recording, it went away. Like we were all watching it and we're like, this is weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. So, and he's the one that cuts off my Wi-Fi and kicks people off the phone calls. And he's not very nice, but he sometimes like, I don't fuck around with him. If I'm in the studio, he gets, if he's around, he gets very aggressive. Sometimes like I start getting like, lightheaded, nauseous. And then like my spirit box will be like, get out, leave, go away. And I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'm like, I'll be back later and you need to be gone, but I'll let you have the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. But goodness. Oh my gosh. Woo.
Because we're having such a good time.
Yeah, if you count our malfunction, it's probably been about 2 hours.
Right. Yep.
But okay, well, I guess we can wrap this one up, and then I'm hoping if I get P.S. if you guys want to donate, please donate or join the Patreon because all of that money goes to sending me to conventions or ghost hunts, and pays for software. So much appreciated. But I'm hoping to save up and do more ghost hunts and try to get them on there. But yeah, so we'll definitely have to get some more. I know I've been a little heavy on my cryptids lately, so I'm trying to get some more of the either paranormal or UFO, just kind of switch it up a little bit. So definitely could hit you up for more because this has been awesome.
Yes, and I love cryptids and alien UFO stuff too. Like I love it all. So,
but
yes,
awesome.
you do.
Again, Alisha, Eternal Paranormal. So go find her. Again, she is on. I know she's on TikTok. You said you're on Facebook and stuff like that. So just go follow her, like her, subscribe, share, do whatever you need to do. Share the love. And again, thank you so much for coming on because this has been super fun. And you had some creepy shit. So hopefully so hopefully we can get some more stuff and work another time for you to come on.
For sure. I'd love to. It's been fun.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much rounds it out. Dear God. Maybe I need to lay off the Baileys for the next couple hours. Woo! On the Patreon feed. If you guys go on there, one of my tiers gives you all the videos. Even though she looks like a telephone the whole time, I will still post the videos. I always try to keep them on there. So if there is any activity in the back, we can just kind of post it. So you can go in there and check it out. But until next time, everybody, see ya.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. If you wouldn't mind, please take a moment and rate and review the show wherever you're listening. I know it might not seem like much, but it greatly helps the show by allowing us to be found more easily when other listeners search for us. If you have a chance, head on over to www.patreon.com/cryptids, creeps, and conspiracy and become a patron. Members of the Big Show tier get bonus materials, personalized shout-outs, access to the private Discord server, and video versions of episodes, both regular and members only, that are raw and unedited. So they're always a good time. As an added thank you to the Big Show patrons, we also are going to be giving out custom stickers and mini prints after 3 months of membership. I'm currently offering a 7-day free trial, so head on over and see how awesome being a member can be. Before you go, click the link in the description and grab yourself or someone you know some of the self-designed merch, or make a donation to help keep the show going and fund future events and investigations. T-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and magnets can be found on the TeePublic site, and they have sales at least once a month. I believe it is 30 or 35% off. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly how much, but keep checking back and get them when they're discounts. They have $16 tees, and it's great. For handmade crochet items such as Nessie, Mothman, aliens, Fresno nightcrawlers, and the little ghosts or a big ghost, as well as pants, swimwear, the best tumblers I have found yet as far as merch is concerned, dresses, office supplies, and more, visit the Square merch store. You can also follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Threads, and TikTok. If you have any questions, topic recommendations, or personal encounters, please don't hesitate to send them in to cryptidscreepsandconspiracy@gmail.com or submit them through the contact form at www.cryptidscreepsandconspiracy.com. I would love to hear from you and share your experience on a special listener episode. Just make sure to specify that I have permission to add your encounter to the show, and let me know whether you would like to have your real name or an alias to maintain confidentiality. Thank you again so much for all your support, and I'll see you next time, my friend.